just want to go home and watch the whole movie. It's Mickey Rourke, ladies and gentlemen. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock, rock, rock till the broad daylight. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. There he is.
I should have come that way.
You come any way you want. It's you can do what you want. Wow. Mickey, you look fantastic. The hair's come off, and you've lost quite a lot of weight since the wrestling, I guess, haven't you? Have you been working on that?
It took about a year and a half, but I still have a lot more to take
But doesn't
off.
he look fantastic, ladies and gentlemen? He looks incredible. Well done. It must be... And I know from experience, when you get older, it's a little bit harder to
When you
lose.
get what?
When you get harder. When you get harder at our age, it's hard to get rid of it, isn't it? And the hair, is this for a part, or is this just for the summer? What is this?
A little of both. Yeah, a little of both.
What's the part? Can you tell us what it is?
What part is it? I don't know yet.
Oh, okay. But it requires a shorter haircut. This much
yeah, not really. I just got tired of it.
Great. It looks great.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you about the kind of parts you seek out, because let's face it, your career is right back on track. I mean, you're getting big films and big parts, but I'm guessing the kind of roles you're looking for are less the action roles, even though you're great in them, you love doing them, more the roles like that, character pieces.
The action roles are really quite boring to do. I think as long as, it's like anything else, you got to just keep challenging yourself, and otherwise, it's like I remember reading a book about a great director who directed James Dean and Marlon Brando, and he says, most great actors will only do 3 really great movies in their whole career, because eventually what happens, and this is a quote from the book, is you turn to wax fruit. You get used to it.
You become a star, or is that because just your acting style becomes a star?
I just think you get used to, you start to mail it in, you know, and so you just got to keep doing your road work and challenging yourself and fall. You know, you could do a movie where you're going to fall on your ass, but you took the chance to go the distance a little bit, you know, instead of doing a safe movie that's easy, that's a guaranteed blockbuster.
So when you had the kind of, well, I don't know what you call it, meltdown sounds wrong, but when you kind
14 years out of work?
When you lost your way before, was that because the parts weren't what you wanted to be? Was it because you weren't happy, you weren't satisfied with what you were doing? Was that one of the reasons?
No, I think when I lost my way, it was, I think I resented the fact of being treated differently, being kind of successful and having notoriety and having some money and being a Hollywood actor. And then I thought, you know, where were all these people, you know, when I was this big? And I think it sort of, it ate at me. It's like, you know, I don't need them now that I'm a man. But, you know, when you're a kid, it's a different...
You needed that, and that wasn't there for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody goes through that shit, you know. But it made me short-circuit. So it was an anger issue. You know, the tabloids all say, oh, he had a drug problem or a drinking problem. That's the easy way to label it, you know. But it was a lot deeper than that.
There was a deeper problem.
It was deeper than that.
That turned you to drugs.
Sort of like your hairdo, yeah. There's got to be a reason that you
just because you
still comb your hair like
just
that.
Just because you've gone, well, I did this as an homage to you. I said, give me the Mickey Rourke this evening. Yeah. I'm taking it off, I'm dyeing it blue for the summer.
You are?
Oh. I might do. That's the only same way to respond to that. Ignore it. So, you know, you mentioned before, you came on and you told me how Sylvester Stallone was one guy who came and kind of bowed you out, and he said, I want you to work again.
Well, you know, I've repeated this story before, so I hope I'm not boring anybody, but I had to work for 14 years, you know, living in this dump, and I had a phone. At the time, I didn't have an agent, so I used to, like, spend hours just looking, go, would you ring, please? And I thought, okay, all I had left were my motorcycles and my clothes. So I put my best shit on and went out to have a nice meal in a good place by myself, because when you're down and out, you can't even get a date. So I'm sitting there having a bowl of spaghetti I could barely pay for, and I'm eating it. And I always stayed in the gym, so I was looking pretty good. And I look up, I felt somebody standing over me, and Stallone is standing there. He says, hey, how you doing? I said, oh, you know, hey, Sly, you know. He says, you look pretty good, blah, blah, blah. He says, listen, I'm doing this movie where I need somebody who looks like they can kick my ass. You want to go to work? I said, yeah, sure. And I had a Mini Cooper at the time, a 1963 Mini Cooper. I couldn't even fill the thing up with gas. I was so broke.
So you were so broke.
So he gave me, I think he gave me like 2 weeks' work on To Get Carter, the remake of the Michael Caine movie. Yeah. And I went, wow, I could pay my rent now for 6 months.
And that kind of gave you a foothold back in the business.
It really did, yeah, it really did, because it was Sean Penn had given me like a day's worth of work, and then Sly. And so now that everything's been going pretty good since The Wrestler, you know, it's like Sly called me and said, listen, I'm doing this movie with a bunch of action stars. I'd love for you to come and work for a day. So, you know.
But here's something, because I imagine that's not the sort of part or film you would necessarily seek out after The Wrestler.
No, but the man came to my rescue when
you
I was
did
down
him
and out.
Yeah,
and
I know, I'm not knocking, I'm saying it's clear to me you did that as a favour in return for him.
I did it as a favour, but also Sly's a very good writer. I mean, he said, I need you for a day, and then I get there, and he had the dialogue written, and then when I got there, he wrote something that was like that long. And I go, you want me to say all that? He says, well, somebody's got to speak in the movie. I said, okay. Well.
But you know, it's interesting, it's an action movie I've seen. It's called The Expendables, and it's not out for a while, is it, over here? I don't know.
I don't believe.
It's out for a few weeks' time. I've seen it, and if I was like kind of 12, it would be, for me, the greatest movie ever made. I still loved it, but it's kind of one of those big action movies.
Well, he's good at that. The thing about Sylvester Stallone, he knows exactly what he wants. He put in Randy Couture, the UFC fighter, the Stone Cold Steve Austin,
but you also got in it. What a gosh, you've got
Jason Statham,
Jet Li. You've got briefly, you've got Dolph Lundgren, but you've also briefly got Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis. It's kind of like all of the big 80s action heroes in one film.
He called in all the markers. Yeah.
Do you notice a change in those actors, those performers? Because these guys have all been around for a while. And they were all young stars, or they all had some taste of stardom young, and now they're kind of mellowing. They're now getting
Well, I like it because Sylvester, what they call him Sly, he would walk around and he'd know everything, and then he'd say to these guys that could destroy him, just say the line. And I'm going, wow. You know?
He was completely in charge.
Oh, yeah, very in charge.
It's out on the August the 19th. It's not out till the summer, but I loved it. I went to see it with my son and his friends. They all loved it. Here it is. Have a look at the trailer for The Expendables. So now on The Expendables. That's great fun.
Yeah.
You seen it though? You watched it?
No.
You haven't been to see it yet?
I haven't seen The Wrestler yet.
Okay. You haven't seen The Wrestler yet?
Or Iron Man, no.
Wow.
I need to let 3 or 4 kind of years go by before I watch stuff.
Why is that? What would happen if you watched it?
Because if I see something I don't like, I'll call the director up and the producers in the middle of the night and raise hell. Then I'd be out of work another 14 years.
So this is self-preservation?
Yeah, it is, really.
Let me ask you about Iron Man 2, because I thought you were tremendous. You haven't seen it, of course, we've established this, but you were great in it, and it was a great fun film. You played a Russian guy with Super's Whiplash, and but you learned a little bit of Russian for the part, didn't you?
The girlfriend's Russian.
The girlfriend's Russian? Is that how that came about? Did you meet her through Iron Man 2?
No, but it was the process. I went over. I was in Russia doing some research, and I went to one of the prisons there, and then I met a guy who just came out of a Russian prison after about 10 or 12 years, and I was looking at him, and he had all these crazy. I've seen old guys with a lot of ink.
They had that kind of weird.
Everything means something. You know, little things here on their fingers, all the way up their ass. The guy had two. He dropped his pants, and he had 2 eyeballs down near his groin, and I said, well, what does that mean? And he says, well, that means I'm watching over you. And I thought, I got to put those there. And they have the knees everywhere, so everything has
everywhere.
It's their criminal kind of history, what prisons they've been in, what their associations are.
It's a scary thing as well to see, I imagine.
Well, they didn't show me the scary prison, okay?
Yeah, but that one doesn't sound like it was a barrel of laughs.
No. The thing, they run a pretty tight ship over there. It's like it's not like in the States. The guards run the prisons there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so you don't want to be in one of those. So you went out and you actually went to jail. You met these guys. That was to give you a background for the part, to give you the character for the part?
I was searching it out because it was the character has in the story spent a decade or so with his father in a Russian prison, and I was just curious to see how it worked over there.
And how is your Russian? What kind of phrases do you have? Could you speak to someone in Russian? Could you have an actual conversation?
Not really. I mean, I could say hello, how are you, good night, what's your name, what's happening, I'd like to have this to eat, a few other words, and that's
a few choice words.
Not really.
Can you tell us a word that your girlfriend's taught you?
No. She did nothing. I would work 3 hours a day with my Russian teacher, and I'd be so proud of it after, because it would take me 2 weeks to learn one sentence.
Yeah.
And then I would say it to her, And she'd go, what are you saying? You know, she made fun of my Russian.
Yeah. But it's so great to see you back doing the work that we know you can do, because you're just an incredible screen actor.
Well, I'm very grateful to be back. You know, you don't get a lot of things in life, you don't get a second chance.
Don't tell me that this evening, for
Well,
Christ's
no,
sake. What's wrong with you?
You know what
What's
I mean.
wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
I want you to come back with your head shaved.
I'm going to come back with some jail tattoos as well. How great to have you back on the show. Ladies and gentlemen,
Right.
Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke. Great to see you. That's all right. Look at that. That's a great jacket. Mickey Rourke, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mickey. Yeah, that's the way. Look at Mickey.